I am, as always, Chris of Chords.
I am solving problems.
And I'm Hifrock.
And Friends Forever is here. Hooray!
Yep. We've been missing you, Kirst.
I know. It was a tough time to be away. But yeah, I'm back. Back in time to ring in all the wonderful good stuff that Set 10's given us.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of good stuff.
I know. I'm thinking, like, for most of spoilers, I was kind of focusing on purple, and then white started doing some amazing things, and yellow got good stuff, and pink has good stuff, and it's going to be a fun winter.
Not only winter. There's plenty of time.
But anyway, we have like 30 spoilers still to get through in terms of cards that were still spoiled individually. Obviously, the OCR happened, but all cards that were dropped before the OCR came out, we are considering spoilers, and so we're going to talk about them just like we have all the others before. And then at the end of that, we'll have our top 5 hot take cards to watch.
Okay, should we get right to it?
I suppose so.
Yeah.
Our first card is Ocelus. Knowledge is power. She is white.
So, sorry, there was a really long silence there. I'm like really on pins and needles about if my connection's dropped or not. Yeah, it's Ocelus, right?
Yep. Knowledge is power.
Yes. Knowledge is power. Our white main. And I, as I was reviewing a lot of the Changeling cards before, in like the past videos and such, I always kept coming back and saying, I don't know why Changelings exist, or like what the tribe's trying to do. And this main is the first one that comes along and says, yes, this is what Changelings are trying to do, essentially trying to support Ocelus here and be efficient in terms of their cost and their power.
Honestly, I think I would have loved this card if it just had its activated ability. Just pay 3 to double its power until end of turn seems pretty fun. And the things you can do with that. Thanks.
I mean, yeah. Everyone thinks of staff at first. Obviously helps a lot. Gets insane if you have both triggers active at once. The +2 and the staff, and you double everything, and well, people start thinking about Ocelus farming pretty quickly.
Yeah, you can also use the ability multiple times, which was not as obvious to me for some reason at first.
No, that's the first time I thought about that too. That makes a lot of sense.
It does cost 6 to do though, which is a lot of investment.
Yeah, if it costed 2, it would be like
ridiculous.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I'd say that, like, certainly the way that I build the main, it's the initial +2 that matters more, the way I'm thinking of using it.
Yeah.
And then that double is around and there to be used as necessary.
Yeah, I mean, even without the ability, +2 power, it's 5 power main. That's quite a lot. That's 1 less power than main with the stick.
and I really like it because it is sort of good, really powerful to have a 5+ power main, etc. And yet it does also, so it's like a main that white is clearly going to try to use, but it does also put a restriction of sort. Like it does nudge your deck into, okay, well, I got to have friends that are going to be triggering this thing, and so kind of gives you a little bit of a recipe to follow as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so naturally, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, like if you think of it, there are a lot of friends that have higher power than their cost, but there's like not much of them. Most of the friends are not like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's doing it that way. There's playing with resources and attachments, which is something that white can do to trigger that. And honestly, I think that's one of the directions I see this main going.
Don't all tokens technically have a cost of 0, thus they always have power higher than their cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point too.
So if you ever make a token, this is fine. I think that's the first thing that stood out to me. I'm like, wow, you can just play a deck that makes tokens and suddenly your main's got 5 power.
Yeah, and thankfully enough, changelings are in yellow.
Changelings are in yellow? I mean, if tokens work, maybe Ocellus is the new bodyguards main. Something that says you have to play Changeling Tribal, even if you got a Changeling main.
You can also just run Infiltrating the Hive. There's your Changeling token.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a main that has a lot of potential. I just don't know if it requires too much setup and too much of an investment to make it work in your favor. I hope it doesn't, because it's cool. But I can't be 100% sure. I think it's the best way to summarize it.
Yeah, seems about right. Lots of excitement, lots of potential directions and prospects, but not necessarily obviously a dominating presence.
Isn't there also a card that gives all changelings agile? I think that would be really good as this one.
Yes, Defend the Hive.
Yeah, that one.
Coming up later.
Okay, next Ocellus.
I think so.
Hit the books. This was the one you revealed, wasn't it?
No, this one was one of Drada's, I think.
Oh, yeah, right.
As was the Ocellus main that we just covered, I believe. But yeah, 3 power, 3 cost, 4 purple rec, with the same enters playability that Tempest Shadow and Grubber had last set in purple pink. Which, given that this card is purple and that deck had purple, might make people think that it's just another card for BRB, which maybe it doesn't need. Although notably, I think, and I kind of said this when I did my design post about it, is that the 4 purple rec is basically built to stop BRB from using the card because it's usually a pink main.
I mean, yeah, the main thing about Tempest and Grubber, though, even though they cost 1 more and require you to have pink, which, as you said, if you have pink main, you probably have that anyway. They're also hasty, which is a big part about them. Like, you can play them at any time, and you can reuse them their effect. And you usually want to nupcake something at immediate speed. And this one isn't. Like, when you put stuff on top of their deck, you probably do that before the face-off or something like that. So they flip it, and that's kind of like hard removal. And since playing a friend is a main phase thing, you like either have to have something like a stick, so they flip it after you play Ocellus, or do like a problem face off or something. Otherwise, they'll just draw it again. It could be nice, like it can be nice with something like Twilight, the 3-color Twilight or Cadence, which are really expensive and really hard to replay. But still, if you want to remove like something like Breakdown or like something small, Tempest and Grubber are much better for that.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the best place for this is in the mono purple aggro that sort of seems to continue to float around here, there, and everywhere sometimes. Because the 4 requirement in monocolor is easy and it's an absolutely massive tempo swing.
I do believe, like, I'm convinced that purple-white aggro is a thing, can be a thing.
Oh, I think so too.
And this card would probably go there.
It could. It depends on like how tribal you go with it.
Yeah, the problem with this one, it's not a unicorn. But no, like, it's fine, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of something that all the tribal decks are going to have to think about as the set moves on. Is like you could just fill your deck up with unicorns, or you could find like this basic package. Like, okay, this is all the unicorns I need to run in order to make it work, and then you have some space for this or for other stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's like not playing Friends and Resources or something else, because those are not unicorns either. Not all of your cards are going to be unicorns. And this might be just another one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next.
Next up.
It's Malwurf. It's like that, I think it was Control Not Knights?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Jet Set and Upper Crust?
Yeah, that one.
Yes, they were Camelot Knights. They were 3 or more characters, and they were, I think they were only 3 power, 0
I think
points.
They were 0 or something, and they were 1 point because they didn't have 0 points back then.
Right. Oh, yeah. 0 point troublemakers didn't exist back then.
It's 0 power, 1 point. Players can't challenge this troublemaker at this. They have at least 3 friends at its problem.
There's one little difference in the text. If you have 3 friends at the problem, you can challenge this with Applejack or something, or Wildfire. But you can't challenge Malwurf with them ever.
Sorry, can you say that again?
There's one like very little minor difference between Malwurf text and Jet Set text. So Jet Set says that you can't challenge them unless you have 3 friends at their problem. But Malwurf says that they can't be challenged by 2 unless you challenge them with 2 or more characters. So if you like play Wildfire, which lets you challenge troublemakers at other problems, like you can't challenge this card with Wildfire ever, and you can still challenge Jet Set if you have 3 friends there. It's a very minor difference, but I think it's worth pointing out.
That's the kind of things that people miss, of which there is a lot of in this set. It's one thing we're pointing out. There's a lot of little subtleties about a lot of these cards.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that obviously troublemakers in this set have to be viewed through the lens of like dragon synergy and all the plus power stuff that's going on. Like this is a 5 power troublemaker, but in the right deck, this could be a 7 or a 9 or whatever to consider. Whether that ends up working, though, is still up for debate, I guess.
Yeah,
the thing I like about this the most is the same reason I liked the other one, Jet Step and Uppercross, is if you ever have immediate movement effects and you're like, oh hey, I can put it so there's only one character there, suddenly they're blocked by the Troublemaker for an extra turn without too much effort.
Yeah, which purple has a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
Next card?
Yep. Oh, this one is interesting. I'm still waiting to see how the rules exactly work for this one.
Was there not an entry in the FAQ about it?
I think there was, but I really want to have an updated version of comprehensive rules. Because as of now, we don't have, like, we only have the description of what token copies are, but this is not a token copy. This card enters play as a copy.
Right.
A little bit different.
Totally different, indeed. So yeah, this is a very unique card in the way it's designed with that 5 cost, 0 power, and it works functionally as kind of a stealing effect because you banish the opposing friend and get it yourself. Except that, of course, this protects against the opponent frightening the friend and getting it back, or portaling it and getting it back. The card is gone forever.
You definitely don't want to portal this.
Yeah.
Well, at least if you're the opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as the meme goes now, this goes into BRB probably.
Likely, yeah. I mean, it's white, which is a little bit more of a stretch, but
I would run white in BRB. For bodyguards. Yeah, I really like that we have like more things that copy things. I think that's really interesting. It's a little bit of a shame that it only lets you banish opposing friends. So I guess I'm the only one who thinks that.
Would be a little bit interesting if you could do your own stuff. You'd just be copying Enter's play abilities, basically.
Well, yeah, I think, like, if you let it banish your own friends, it would be really, really fun to have a card that works like a Party Clasher, except it becomes a copy of that card until it leaves play or something like that. I think it would be fun to see a card like that. But yeah, either way, the biggest problem with stealing that we had is that getting stuff back is really easy, like frightening is enough to get a friend back. Or portal, like BRB doesn't care if you steal stuff from it, they just portal it and it's theirs again. And this card solves this.
Mm-hmm.
And as zero, like as it has been pointed out in other places, as a zero cost, zero power card, you can bring it back from your discard pile with some very cheap events, like find music in you.
Mm-hmm.
And since it's not when you play, it's as if this enters play, putting it into play from your discard pile works just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And since it is at 5 cost, that is probably going to be the way that most people try to make use of it, given that it's in white too and such.
Mm-hmm. Also the flavor text. I really love
Flavor text is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
No, my favourite part about it is that Rarity is literally standing right underneath a symbol of her own colour with a stupid looking face. Just as soon as I saw it, I was like, what is she doing there? Just looks ridiculous.
Okay, next
card?
Yeah, sure.
This one is also weird. I guess we've seen this one before, kinda.
Yes, very similar to Chaos Capital of the World, except at immediate speed, which I know caused a flurry of speculation all over the place.
Yeah, I honestly spent like an hour trying to break it, like the fact that we can now do this at immediate, and I couldn't do much actually, so I think it's fine. Probably fine.
I know, well, there was a lot of talk about harmony and about. I think the current situation is that in harmony it does fun things, but in core it's fine.
Yeah, I can see this doing in harmony fun things. Beagle did build an interesting deck with it, which used Nightmare Moons.
Right, the middle deck, right?
Yeah. Basically, you play this right before your Troublemaker step to cover Nightmare Moon, so she uncovers right away, and then at the end of the turn she covers back again. So you get to use her many times.
Seems gross.
Yeah, this is the kind of card that I feel like we should have a few more of in the game. Big giant effects that aren't immediately obviously helpful, but not even necessarily big effects, but cards that aren't necessarily obvious. Oh, that's good. That's going to be helpful. That enable creative people to do weird things with.
Yeah, like this is the kind of card you build your deck around. Like you can just put this card in any deck; it won't really do anything useful. At least I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well.
Next card. Double Dismiss.
Indeed, I saw this used on the pre-release stream a couple times.
Seems like it could be pretty good.
I mean, not as good as Berry Flop.
It's true. That costs only 2 ATD. And, well, yeah.
And gets around many things.
Mm-hmm. But certainly in the kind of decks that run this card, you're going to have piles of Earth Ponies. So it is functionally just dismiss 2 things for 4 AT. And in a world with a certain colorless card that's coming up, sometimes not being immediate is a good thing.
Indeed. The thing about this, like the restriction on the amount of Earth Ponies isn't that big of a deal, because many decks don't actually run that high cost friends. And if they do, you can just dismiss them with the primary ability and dismiss something else with the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first one is not restricted in any way. I also, what I really like a lot about many of the harmony effects, not this one in particular, is that they very often say characters, so you can pretty much guarantee to have at least one character if you run the appropriate main, which I really like.
This one says characters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, all of them say characters. Well, most of them say characters. And I think that's really good, because that gives you some guarantees about what you can have at any given time.
Yeah. Really encourages you to pick the right main.
Yep. Yeah. Stop fighting. Double frighten, but in the other sense.
Indeed, yeah.
So the list of stuff this hits is pretty extensive.
Yeah, pretty much. 2 or less power covers most of your sort of workhorse, pun not intended, friends in most decks.
And you can use it for free if it's in your discard pile, which is, I think, really great thing about it.
Yeah, we've already seen Griffins. Gilda a little while back emphasizing playing Griffin each turn. Now this to give you even more benefit from playing Griffins.
Yeah,
I'm still not entirely sure what the Griffin deck looks like, even after looking at the OCR. To be
but I mean, this card turns pretty much all of your Griffins into little Rutherfords.
well, not all of them. You can only use the Frighten effect 3 times.
One for each copy.
But it is still, one of those kind of gotcha things that the opponent does have to pay attention to when this thing is in your discard pile. It might be more akin to saying it turns your Griffins into Spitfires if you're playing a couple of hasty ones.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next card. Rockhoof. Oh, this image is kind of small. That's fine.
Yeah, there were a variety of ways to get these images. I believe this is the only one a little bit lower res in the whole deck.
I can still read the text, so it's fine. This is a very fun card. I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
For 1 cost. If it costed more, I would like it way less.
Yeah, like this kind of gets around the fact that people always say, "Oh, the pillar cards are all expensive and big targets, and they'll all just get removed." And while that is to some extent true of Rockhoof, cost only 1.
My 1 action token. How terrible that I lost my grand investment.
Yeah, and he can get pretty big pretty fast. Like, having a boosted main character gets him to 4 power eventually.
Mm-hmm. Having a main character with a stick gets an 8.
Mm-hmm.
Having a Granny Smith with any number of counters gets this guy to be pretty big.
True that as well.
Not that I'm totally thinking about him in certain decks of my own building.
I also think like the fact that he can't be frightened is really good, because frighten is a very common way to reset counters and things like that. Can't frighten him.
Although it does block you from doing the cool trick with Xerox and Harmony, which I'm sad about.
Well, it makes it more difficult. It doesn't block you, but more difficult, yeah.
True. And being a cheap unicorn, or Earth Pony rather, sorry, Yakov, helps with Apple Bloom we saw a little while ago, who likes you to play more Earth Ponies.
Yeah. Well, in retrospective, I would really love if Apple Bloom let you disable resources as well as friends. Like, not just don't restrict it to friends only. Should be like a lot much more fun to play, I think, and way stronger. Maybe too strong. I'm not sure, but this is just an idea that came to my mind. Like, you play Rockhoof and disable Desert Rod. This would... No, like, Rockhoof works at the start of your turn, so it doesn't matter if they have Desert Rod or not. But like for 1 ET, you just can disable Desert Road for that one turn to play something else.
Interesting.
And you get a powerful friend. But unfortunately, Apple Bloom only says friends, so maybe we'll get something like that in the future. It'll be fun.
Also, I like the idea of having 6 tokens and just playing Captain Jack and then this and just passing. I feel like, there we go. All right, let's go. What now?
Yeah. Another thing I really love about this card is flavor. It's really flavorful to what happened to Rokhu in the show. He was like very weak in the beginning, but then he got his shovel and he became strong. And this card kinda reflects that.
A lot slower though.
Yeah.
I do really like how many of the pillars can be viewed as kind of their color, and then just taken to an extreme level, like how Star Swirl was super deck search, and Rock of Fear is all about power counters, and Flash Magnus is all about moving around, and et cetera, and frightening stuff. It's a good way that they're designed that way.
Mm-hmm.
Next one?
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of cards that take their color to the max, Mage Meadowbrook. One of those spoilers that kind of shook the earth a little bit when it landed.
I think that one left a big crater when it landed. And every time when she lands.
Yeah. If Troublemakers got you down, and if you're playing against Bugle's thing, say for example, just wipe those away.
It's Catajack against Beaglezack. One-sided Catajack.
I mean, the only
My issue with cards like this is that there's not a lot you can really say about them. Because just read it. It's one of those things where it's like, it does what it says on the tin or whatever the usual phrase is. It's like,
yeah.
I can't really add anything to this except for saying it can be meta dependent and it's a powerful card, and it's like, cool.
The only thing that I can say is that it kind of is clearly going to have an impact on those kind of controls where you might see a little bit more orange just because the only real way to stop this is Desert Road. So you're going to want orange main probably if you're going to try to run a control deck.
So this probably goes into BRP. It's when this card enters play, and I think like it's better than Rest in Pieces. Because the problem with Rest in Pieces is that it can be cancelled by Wake Up Call, or there might be mimics that should make Rest in Pieces cost more. But Mage Meadowbrook doesn't care, she swipes those mimics away, as well as the resources.
Mm-hmm. Is BRB just going to be a 6-color deck now with all the best enters play abilities from all the colors?
Yeah, we'll just
fixing is, who cares?
Okay, next card?
Sure. So this gets us into what was a long night. I believe this was the start of the spoiler every hour night.
That's when I went to sleep.
Yeah. But anyway, Berry Punch, another 0 printed for cost. Stubborn with DJ's ability from Rock and Rave, main face exhausted draw. Surprising that we actually saw that text again on a card.
We've seen one in the I think it was Marimare. She had immediate draw a card.
That's true. But she wasn't stubborn, was she?
She wasn't
No.
stubborn, and
But
she
was
didn't
immediate,
have as much
so
power.
You used it to confront and then drew a card.
Mm-hmm. And also borrowing this card's power equal to the number of cards in your hand from Shining Armor. Yes.
Crystallized version.
Yep. She stole my purple. It was purple abilities first.
Which is weird considering pink has always been the card draw color.
Pink had a couple of cards which had power depending on your opponent's hand. Like, I remember there was Snips and Snails in Rock and Rave, I think. And there was some other card that also had that. But yeah, I agree that it makes more sense to have an ability like this in pink. Because pink is about card draw.
And like really never more so than this. In so many of its spoilers that we've seen.
It's actually very interesting, like the first ability of this card is obviously orange. The second one is obviously pink. And the third one is actually kind of a mix, like I could say, because having high power is an orange thing. But depending on the number of cards in your hand, which is probably a lot, if a pink thing.
Mm-hmm. Will this card usher in Cloud Chaser and Flitter to increase your hand size?
Yeah.
Good.
I just don't think it's good enough to actually properly get used. Because I think the issue with cards like this is always the question of, well, if I actually make plays, I make this worse. And it's always kind of feel bad. As I've obviously played other card games which cares about cards in hand, there's times where you're like, well, actually, if I play some cards in my hand, the sort of the tempo or the power I lose on this card, I would have rather have just played, a 4/4 or something like that.
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends
experience
on.
I have a lot with cards.
Yeah, it depends on what the hand economy kind of looks like. Like if your hand's always full and this thing is always going to be in the range of like 5 to 8 power, then that's probably still going to be pretty useful to you. But yeah, if your hand gets down to, well, if this card is getting down to less than 4, then you're clearly not getting good value out of it.
Do you think it will see playing constructed?
Mm-hmm.
Like in limited, this is a beast. Like you play this and you win the game.
Extra cards in limited are great.
In constructed, it comes down to like it's an Earth Pony. I don't know if it goes in the Earth Pony deck as I see it developing right now, which means Orange Pink has to do something else. I'm going to probably fall down on the side of saying probably not in constructed right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like what orange pink decks we've seen so far? We've seen like the Grandpa's control deck. I don't think it like the extra card draw is nice, but it doesn't really care about high power friends. It cares about exhausting opponent's stuff and removing it. There was also
the issue with this game as well is making an action token is literally strictly better than drawing a card.
Yeah. The other orange-pink deck we've seen was the Lyra deck, which we saw on Continentals, which was very fun. From, I think it was Eminently Sensible and Isoforce, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. But the problem is that that deck relied so much on discarding cards.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just stockpiling on them. So maybe not there. So yeah.
Yeah. There could be some, like even orange-pink aggro it discards a lot. Like I'm starting to get the sense, honestly, that orange pink aggro is going to want to end the game with its deck empty, basically, because I just threw everything and I discarded everything and I got max value out of it all. And then I banished it all to Smart Cookie, and so I'm actually out of stuff, but I won.
Yeah. Okay, next card.
Sure.
Ember.
Yes. This was the first dragon we saw that didn't interact with troublemakers, I think.
Maybe?
Out of this set, at least.
Yeah, it does say all of your friends can't be frightened if they have +1 power counters. No restrictions.
No restrictions at all. And we've got, well, in orange, there are lots of ways to get power counters around. You can get it off of problems or events or friends, like maybe ones we're going to see soon, or yeah.
If only there was a main that could do that. There is in Harmony.
Oh. Right. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that I dislike this card because it turns off Granny Smith, and that offends me highly.
Oh.
You can't specifically replace a frightening.
Oh, right.
If your thing can't be frightened. Thus, Granny can't last forever and work through removal anymore.
Yeah, I did not think about that.
Yeah, I read it. I was like, oh, this seems good. Wait a second. It's garbage for my stupid deck. I hate it.
Well, just don't put power counters on Granny, but I think that's kind of the point
The
of Granny.
entire point of
Yeah.
the deck. Granny's supposed to become the giant battle cruiser ship that walks up to a problem and literally smashes it to smithereens.
And they can't do anything about it.
But yeah, I feel like this isn't even necessarily a dragon tribal card. Like this goes pretty nicely in some sort of semi-basic orange aggro with a bunch of diligent, where you just want to win a face-off. All right, all my diligent friends can't be frightened now, and then we just kind of move on, including Ember herself, obviously.
My problem with it, that's like frightening is a very specific thing, like only a couple of colors do it, which is blue and purple is to a way lesser extent. So like against many decks it just doesn't have any text besides Diligent 2.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like, if it also gave, say, immunity to other niche removal, like return to hand maybe, or being banished, then yeah.
Yeah, or Dismissal even, like Appaloosa. Maybe that's too strong.
I was thinking if it was Dismissal, it'd be too strong.
Let's just say that they can't leave play. Surely that won't break anything.
Well, to be fair, my thought with this when I first saw it was, I think what they could have done that would be really strong and maybe broken, but I'm not sure, is your friends with +1. If a friend with +1 power counters on them would leave play, you may remove all power counters from them instead.
Yeah, maybe.
To sort of turn power counters into one big shield, because if it was remove one power counter, it'd be stupid. Well,
Right,
everything
yeah.
with 50 power counters, I'll take one off. But if you always have to remove all of them, it's like everything only has 2 lives. Which is still strong, but I don't know if it's too strong. I'm not the game designer.
Yeah, it would be definitely like an interesting effect.
Yeah, I can't, like, off the top of my head, anything.
Okay, next card.
Sure.
It's a Lyra.
The 50
Lyra,
billionth copy of it we've seen. This
version
one,
3.
one requirement and is a 3 for 3. It's fine. It's probably very nice and limited because you can drag your main, which is probably confront to flip.
I think it's fine in constructed too.
I think it has a big place in constructed actually.
Yeah,
because it can drag you to lacking lesson plans and confront you.
Yeah, on the second turn, which is quite good.
Yeah.
Like, I do think some decks might even want to include this instead of Loyal Pony if they run lacking lesson plans. Or with Loyal Pony, like, you don't have to exclude.
I think so, yeah. Like, Loyal Pony's a great card. Well, I mean, they're both great cards in both the early game and the late game. But the way that I've seen it developing, lacking lesson plans even isn't a universal, you're guaranteed to confront turn 2 kind of card, so good to have more stuff.
Also Griffin, which is quite important in this set. Or might be quite important.
Remains to be seen, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now we've gone through the 2 cards. For each Griffin, you got to think, okay, sometimes this actually costs 2, and sometimes this frightens a thing when it comes into play as well. And, well, when you start adding all of that on, then it starts to sound like a pretty good card.
Yeah, it becomes so much more than Lyra. But we'll see if Griffin decks are actually going to be a thing.
Yeah. What? And I'm trying to remember. Obviously, we've all seen the OCR. There were cards that scaled on number of Griffins, I think, as well. And like those are the cards that are important because those encourage you to run the Gallus main, and he's obviously super competitive. So it's kind of how good those are that determine, I think, whether a Griffin deck's going to work or not.
Yeah. Okay, next card.
Sure.
Song.
Right. Our first tricolor song of the set, right?
Yeah, it's the second best song in the set. Unbiased.
So this is the song to go along with Cadence in the blue, pink, white tricolor. As some people pointed out, I think when it was spoiled, it's a little bit less impressive than some of the tricolor stuff we saw before in terms of songs. Just especially that pink ability, I think. An opponent retires a random friend is not all that impressive, really.
Like, if it wasn't random, it would be much worse. Because they just choose a friend they don't need, and random can actually hit something useful. And retiring goes around pretty much all of the protection that I have right now, like Brian's and things like that. So I can see like this thing, but yeah, like fortuity a little bit too much. Like free rec to ET is a lot.
I was going to say, the issue is, after putting all this setup into get an effect, you don't want it to just fluff out and be useless.
Moving 3 characters at 2ET is pretty good though, I think.
That is definitely good, yes. That is a 4AT savings. I mean, you're getting very close to turning this into a winged wonder at that point. Or like a dash and mullet or something. Obviously, it's not immediate, but yeah. And even banishing a troublemaker, that's useful. Honestly, it's not a cracking the case, but it's still something you do from time to time.
Yep. If you play an aggro, they're probably naming, like if it's mimics, they're probably naming resources against you, and you can have this, like the versatility there is quite important. Because like in an aggro deck, you can, like, if there's no troublemakers, you just move 3 of your characters, which is great. And if troublemakers trouble you, you can banish them. So that's the important part about the songs. They're quite versatile in how you use them.
Random choices also do matter in Pink now, because Sea Poppy exists.
Oh yeah. Just okay. Here's the plan. We play Patio 1, then we play Screwball, then we play Sea Poppy, and then we play this. And since they only have Screwball, you can guarantee a point for yourself. I think it's 1 point for like 9 AT. Sounds pretty good.
Well, you did Party of 1 in there. Surely that made it work.
Yeah, fair enough.
But also, Party of Warning makes it more expensive because it's difficult to have 3 colors after.
Not if you have Glitchtown Citizen. To which you discarded Cadence in advance.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay, next card.
Nice card, sure.
Oh, I love this one. This is one of my favorite cards in the set, probably.
So yeah, this card hit Discord, and I think a lot of people saw slightly more expensive Standstill at first, but there was so much more to discover about what this card could actually do.
Yeah, as someone said on SimStream, Standstill wants to be this good. Dreams. I mean, yeah, it costs 1 more, but this is so much more than Standstill.
It reminds me of Photo Op, to be fair. But you don't have to preempt it.
Mm-hmm. Bit of that in there too.
And if for some reason your opponent's like, aha, I have Agile and I want to make it so confronting this Troublemaker is easier, you can just be like, it goes back. Now you can't move.
So, the another, like, that's about not moving characters, but another important thing here is, unlike Standstill, you don't have to immediately use it. Like, if they move the character during their turn at some point, you can move that character back at any point in their turn. Like, if they move their character in main phase, you can say, like, fine, and you just move them back in score phase. Or whatever. Like, you can use this anytime, which is better than Standstill, because with Standstill you are not always sure when you really should use it or not use it. But here you can use it only if you need it. Mm-hmm. Another great thing is that it's not restricted to their characters. You can cancel stuff like Frozen in Magicite, or you can do some tricky stuff like in aggro way by moving a friend to a problem, then moving into another problem to confront that one, and then playing this to move it back. That's probably a little bit expensive, but you can do that if you really need it.
If you're trying to get around some kind of move restriction, say for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also send, which is great. Not move.
Yeah. Being a send means it gets around every move restriction, even all the can't move stuff. So, pretty good.
Even itself. It cancels itself.
That is true as well.
So yeah, this is one of my favorite cards in the set. I like the way that it can be used in so many different ways. I just love it.
Yeah, it's a very elegant card. Kind of like Portal.
Mm-hmm.
Simple text, but it enables so much. And yeah, this is. Oh, sorry. Did we move on already?
No, but we can.
Oh,
now we did.
Sure.
Mistmane.
Mistmane, the card that that whole night was building up to. And what a card it is.
I see Sweetie Belle somewhere here.
See a little bit of that, yeah. Basically, this is a card that gives you recursion, and that doesn't even really make you pay for it. You get a point for doing it. Protects you from mill because it can cycle out of your discard pile. Yeah, and obviously is a win condition sometimes.
Yep. I see. Like yeah. I don't think I can really add anything here. Besides the fact that she's unique is very important. Like, it's a good thing that she's unique.
Yeah. I know people immediately talked about the sort of path of least resistance cycle, where you just play Mistmane and win, which costs 45 AT, right?
Yep.
Which is obviously too expensive. Now, notably, if you manage to have like a cadence in play, then that goes down to 30.
Yeah, there's quite some ways to make it cheaper, but I don't think like there will be a brute force deck that will just try to play, like, get as much ST as possible to play Mistmane that many times, but maybe we will get a deck like that. Who knows? Many people are concerned with this card because it also might give a card for your opponent, which is, like, as a win condition, it probably doesn't matter because you win. But as a recursion, I think that's a very important point.
Here's the real point, though. If you play Party of One, none of them are in the discard pile anyway.
Yeah, that's why you also play purple for Magical Misfire.
Yeah, if you can consistently make it so your opponent doesn't even have a discard pile, if you really don't want them to get the card and give you a point, like, there's ways of doing it in this game.
Yep. And the point about purple is probably a good one to make because this is a unicorn. It's worth pointing out.
Yeah, I think this goes great in a control unicorn deck. Maybe even aggro unicorn deck just to close out the game. Like, you would definitely play Mistmane at 13 points.
Pressure.
Yeah, so often it comes down to the opponent making a calculation, saying, okay, well, even if he DFOs, he can't get to. And then you pull out a Mistmane and say, haha, but I can.
I also really like that it's a card that recurses itself. I don't think we've seen anything like that before. Like, except some cards in Premiere that you can play this from discard pile, but that doesn't really count. It's kinda like expensive F-stop, which you can reuse as long as you have AT. Okay, next card. Silver Stream. I really like it because it goes into my combo deck.
Also, I gotta check. Cass, you there? Or has your internet decided to die?
I'm back now.
Okay, cool.
Hello.
I missed a little bit at the end of Mistmane. Unfortunate, because there was a couple other things I wanted to say, but it's fine.
Oh, we can go back. It's fine. What did you want to say about Mistmane? Did we lose him again?
Oh God, please no. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, I think we need an elevator music.
So while we wait for him to return,
Yeah, we can talk a little
stream.
bit. Yeah. Oh, I
Is
see
most
sounds.
mechanic mode, I'm surprised, didn't already exist.
We did a couple of, like, there's Party Fiber, but he's restricted only to the problem he's played.
There have actually been cards that did similar things before.
Yeah.
I more just mean an easy sort of entry, play it, and do this thing that Pink does sometimes.
There is, in Premiere, there's a rare called Charged Up. When you move it, it does this thing, and it's an entry. But no one ever used it, I think, because it's quite expensive. Because it's Premiere, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3 AT, 2 power. When you move this card, you may look at that to a problem. You may look at the top 2 cards of that problem deck and put them on top or bottom in any order.
Yeah, and there was I missed part of this conversation, but let me see here. Ultra Rare Party Favor had text that was actually very similar to this.
Yeah, he's restricted to the problem though. This one is.
Yeah, where he comes into play. Yes.
There's also Find Music in You, which is not a friend, but not a Music in the Treetops. That one. It's an event that does this thing. And I think those are the only cards that let you look at the top 2 cards of the problem deck. There are a couple of others that let you look only at one. Like Bodyguards.
But yeah, I'd say honestly that's, I think the most important thing that I keep in mind when evaluating the card is that we've had effects like this before that didn't see play. So
I think the important point about this card in particular that it is Silverstream, and we know what the Transform Silverstream does, and they have a great synergy. Like, you play this, you look at the top 2 cards, you see if you like them or not, then you choose which one you want, and then you transform Silverstream into the other Silverstream and get the problem. And that, like, since it's a transform, you basically just played Silverstream for free. Because it's going to be 4 ET total anyway.
that's a good point, yeah.
So I think the question is here, like, will Silverstream see play outside of some combo decks?
Well, I think a card like this needs a very particular thing to happen for it to get played, which is for 1 problem or 2 problems in your problem deck to be so strictly better than the others that you want to see them every game. Because if that's true, you would want to play a card like this to help guarantee that they're the next ones you flip. If that's not true and all your problems are kind of similar, or you're okay with flipping any of them and it's not going to give you a specifically large advantage, doing this is kind of just like playing a vanilla friend.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So, in terms of its entire life, it might see play. But right now, I don't think there's a deck where it specifically loves the idea of seeing certain problems.
Yeah. It's yeah. Like, I know there are certainly control games occasionally where you do really, really care about what's down in your problem deck. Like, how many times has it happened where you'll be playing a game and it all comes down to what you flip into right at the end?
Yeah, but would you put more control tools in your deck or discard?
Yeah, that's the choice.
Next card?
Yep. A dragon. That does dragon things. It frightens stuff.
Precisely, yeah.
Honestly, I think the thing that I like about this the most is that it's not another dragon friend, like you'd think for a harmony effect. So at the end of the day, worst comes to worst, you pay 1 and exhaust this card to frighten a friend and put a +1 power counter on it later. which isn't terrible.
Isn't terrible. I mean, if you want to exhaust it every turn, it's
kind of annoying. But the fact that instead of it specifically being him, it's also like, well, I actually need him to frighten something next turn, so I'll put it on you. It's just kind of nice.
Yeah. It does have synergy with Ember, as we saw earlier. As I mentioned, I think when I spoiled this card, one of the things that I really like about it is that it's a repeatable way to frighten a thing for 1 AT per turn in a world where using stick to do that is sometimes a little risky because Gallus and Smolder exist.
Yeah.
You really sometimes do not want to be starting face-offs.
I think it's one of the... Is this the first card that does something when it readies?
I think so.
Because that's quite a unique effect.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the only card we've ever seen that has that. It's functionally identical to doing something when it exhausts, I think. I'm pretty sure. Except that, like, if you place something on it that stops it from readying, then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Or, it gets dismissed.
The difference here is, like, if you exhaust it via other means, you still get the effect. Like, if it was exhaust this card to put a +1 power counter, if you exhaust it with, like, bailout or something else, you won't get that power counter, but here you will get it anyway, which is interesting. Not sure if there's any cards that make your dragons exhaust for your benefit, but
it could go in like a perhaps.
I think you cut out there purple what? Purple orange? This is purple orange?
Oh, he's gone?
I'm not sure.
Yay.
More technical difficulties.
He may have his internet back, but it doesn't seem like it's very good.
Yeah. I hear some sounds of typing. Okay, that's fine. I don't think we have too much to say anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's simple, it's cool, and if they ever print a card that
Yeah, sorry, did you get me back? Did you get me back?
Sorry, Kirst? You cut out on the part where you said it might go into purple and he's typing again. Oh, maybe he can't hear us because that has happened before.
I'll be having angry words with my ISP in the near future.
Well, I guess let's just move on, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you again.
Oh, hello.
Hey.
Okay, there we go. Are we still on Caldera?
Yeah, what did you say about, like, it could go into purple and then you cut out?
Purple Muffin Mare.
Oh, yeah.
Cute.
Yeah, cute indeed. Yeah, that's a very nice point.
Muffin Mare and all her dragons? Question mark?
Yeah,
there's a Game of Thrones joke to make there somewhere.
No.
Okay, next card?
Sure.
It's Starlight. Really like this one. It's like Moondancer, but not. It banishes Starspell Research. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
This card is, yeah, pretty crazy given some other unicorn friends we had, and I think we'll have a talk about that a little bit later when we get to our top 5s.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite thing about
Well,
this
yeah,
card that
pretty much
terrifies
one
me.
thing that all the unicorn decks have is that they play a lot of unicorns and play a lot of. So it works.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most terrifying. Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
yes. Okay. I think the scariest thing about this, to me, is the idea that you could have bodyguards out, play belly flop, have it resolve, then this and bodyguards trigger, and then you have access to belly flop again straight away.
Yeah, and you can just belly flop your
just
unicorn.
I was going to play 2 action tokens and kill everything. Herder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot of things you can do here, like bodyguards is a good example, or just playing unicorns is also fine. And like if you add magic instructor to this,
This is where things get crazy, yeah.
Yeah, you can get a lot of events going for playing only a couple of cards.
Yeah, where your portals start getting copied and then you access events, which, yeah, things start going crazy, especially because this doesn't exhaust. This is just, whenever unicorn enters play, you get something.
Yep. And there are some easy ways to get unicorns. I think this is like the only card that is unrestricted like that. The other one will be kinda Coco Pomel. Refurbisher, I think her title is.
Right.
But this one is way more efficient. It's like Refurbisher banishes, like lets you replay stuff when she enters play. This card lets you play stuff when any unicorn enters play. And when you play it, you already get a value from replaying an event, so it's like playing the Refurbisher.
Indeed. Probably a good thing that purple and white don't have a good way to make unicorn tokens.
Yeah. Just add some pink.
Yeah, splash something, and you're good.
Oh, the super rare Octavia and Vinyl, it makes playing friends to their problem terrifying.
That's true. Probably the best example.
I dare you, play friends to my problem and I'll just punch you.
And you'll see what things I can pull out of my discard pile. Okay, next card.
Sure.
Chillax. It's a cute card.
Its name is the best thing about it. Not that it's a bad card, just seeing the word chillax. It's top tier.
Tis true. Yeah. Card is obviously the Pegasus deck is going to go very wide, and so this is really good in it.
To be fair, I think my favorite thing about this card is it takes the Spitfire that makes 3 tokens from being a 3 for 6 to a 3 for
10.
Which is just like, okay, that's fair.
I mean, there's plenty of ways to do it. That's what blue and yellow look like it's doing. Bugles, Cloud Chaser, and Flitter with the Forest Owl effect, and this, and any number of other great things. Spitfire can get a lot better very quickly.
Yeah, but like looking at some older sets and not so older sets, like giving a board-wide buffs was kind of a yellow thing. It just kind of fell out, I would say. Like, not as like we didn't see as much of cards that give some AOE buff effects, and now we see more of them. So we'll see how that goes.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's got to be getting there, because Well, there's a card that we're not going to cover in this stream. That's in the OCR. I guess it's not a spoiler, so I can tell you. Did you see the persistent Fluttershy?
I don't think so, not yet. I can look at it now.
Yeah, Fluttershy, appropriate business attire. It's persistent, and your Pegasus characters have persistent, or friends rather.
Oh yeah, I see it. It's cool.
And in a deck like this one, that's going to run basically these, I don't want to say pillars, but support blocks of cards like this and like Cloud Chaser and Flitter. Having those be not able to leave play helps a lot. And then yeah, it's just these and a bunch of tokens, and they can't remove these because they're all persistent. So yeah.
Yeah, they have to spend like 2 removals for it. And like having this and Cloud Chaser and Flitter and all of your pretty much, if you build a Pegasus deck, pretty much all of your characters have +2 power, which is very strong. Like +2 power is a lot of power for everyone. Stick gives you only 3 and only to your main character, and this is +2 for everyone if you have 2 of them.
So yeah, I think blue and yellow has a place to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next one.
Sure.
Timble.
All right. I was trying to remember where this card was. I thought, nah, shouldn't we have gotten this card? But yet, yeah, here it is. Yeah, Timble. Good card.
Yeah, I see point.
Admittedly, when I look at it, I'm like, the calming one is just there for flavor reasons, right?
Precisely.
The part people care about is the harmony half.
Mm-hmm.
It seems pretty strong.
Yeah, again, like, I think this is the card that defines Changeling tribal decks. Like, they're all just going to be, we're trying to make this card work.
Yeah, this is like Kratos of Changelings.
Except you don't have to get rid of your resources to do it. Well, not resources, the card type, I mean.
Yeah, and like if you have 3 of them, you can use like they count each other.
Mm-hmm. 3 is the magic number for Timble.
Yep. And we also like I think it'll be on stream, right? The hard resource which makes a token copy and it can move with the token copy.
Yes.
It's also white yellow and
also
it works.
white yellow.
Yep.
Yeah. The dream for me is to do something like that and splash purple and save up some AT to play a sim so that you can then get like 10 points.
Oh yeah.
That's a meme, but it's a good meme.
Yeah. It is a good meme. Like, it would be really fun to win, like, to close out the game like that. Oh, I'm at 8 points, I'm just going to, like, have a couple of Timbles and play Simula Duplexes, confront this problem, and I win. Fun, fun, fun.
Yeah. This is a yeah. If changelings are a thing, this card's going to be in. That's for sure, I think.
Yep.
And I do also like to point out that, like you mentioned, solving how the calming is just for flavor. The harmony part is very flavorful as well, because it's not a feeling forum unless there are at least 2 people there.
How does going to a feeling forum give you points, though?
Because you're working out your problems before they become problems.
But you get points by solving problems. It's kind of
Yep.
like where the whole name
No,
came from.
like Feelings Forum is where you like confront your problems. Like it makes sense. Like you have a problem and you talk about it. You don't solve it, you just talk about it. And that leads you to to solving the problem eventually.
Wait, can you also do that while solving a different problem? Sounds complicated.
Yeah. Okay, next card.
Next card, sure.
Gabi.
I love this card just because even if it didn't say Harmony Griffin and it was when you move this character you may draw a card, I think it would be pretty good anyway. But it does it for all the Griffins.
Yeah, turns out it's actually pretty good. Yeah, even just to dispel it down to that, given that it's agile too. 3 power is the point I think where agile becomes really good. Because 2 AT to move 2 immediate, and it's not amazing. 3, now we're starting to get to obviously Bloom has 3 power, and so that's really influential to swing 3 power from one problem to another, especially if it draws you a card.
Yeah, like it's you move it for and pay 1 to draw. At immediate speed.
And now Greta, from back there, we get to add another thing onto her. She costs 2, she frightens this thing, and she draws a card. Now she's looking good.
So what I also think makes this card interesting is literally every event we've ever had that's like, yes, move 1 friend, like move 2 friends, give your character Swift and all these other things. Because suddenly it's like, oh wait, this also draws cards.
It'd be interesting to see a Griffin deck. With Callus.
Yeah, I'm still not sure what form the Griffin deck takes. Whether it's aggro, whether it's mid-range. It's probably not control, but somewhere in that. Whether it's Gallus main or whether you get better value out of using like Skystar or something.
Or Bluna.
Or Bluna, indeed.
I think the deck would want Bluna, and it kind of seems to be going in this direction of being like kind of an aggro deck, but it wants you to play bigger friends than usual. Because all the Griffins are a little sort of bigger than your traditional little aggro mooks, because there's a lot of like sort of 3-for-3s and stuff. But it compensates that by having cards like Gilda and this Gabi that sort of give you this incidental value because you're playing these slightly bigger Griffins. Or makes them cheaper. And like I think the idea is that you end up sort of against aggro, you have stuff like the Frighten event and things to keep your tempo going, and then you'll end up winning because your stuff's just a bit bigger. And against control, I don't really know. It might be too slow and you'll just get ruffle stomped, but it depends entirely on builds, etc., and metagames.
Okay, next card.
Sure.
Applejack and Pinky. You may start the face-off.
It's a... what were those events called? I always forget their little subtype. Showdowns. It's a showdown, friend. Dun dun dun. It costs 4 to do.
But it has Diligent, and if you win the face-off, you may draw your entire deck. I mean, sometimes.
You do draw a lot of cards. That's I mean, you could have a lot of Earth Pony tokens and Earth Ponies. Yes.
With
this could draw you 10 cards.
We have a lot of Earth Pony tokens.
Oh my god, with Bravers, this just... Like, you play it, you get 2 tokens, then you win the face-off. And you draw some cards.
Like, seeing the way that Pink... this is kind of another meme, but with pink being able to draw so many cards, it makes me want to try to make Scrapbook Project work again in some deck where I'm just overdrawing and discarding so much.
It's so hard. You need to have all these different types.
I
How are you
know.
going to have enough Earth Pony friends to draw loads of cards if you're trying to make Scrapbook work? Come on.
My deck's gonna have like 80 cards in it. I can fit Earth Pony.
But how do you ever make Scrapbook work if you don't get it? What if you shuffle it and all 3 copies are like in your last 20 cards?
That's why you run Big Mac and Mod Combo to order your deck.
Alright, here's all the things I want.
Yeah, like, you see, you play this card, a face-off starts, you flip your entire deck, and then you order it in the way you want. And then you draw the cards you need. Like, this is the perfect combo.
It's gonna, yeah, you play your mod. What's the order I actually want these cards in?
And to find your, like, Mod Mac in an 80 card deck, you can use PFF, so it's all good.
So, next card?
Yup. Is this the one, I think? Yeah, it is the one.
It is.
A card
Wow,
I'm very
that's-
happy they printed.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause
Changes a lot.
I miss the old style of absolute Discord colorless friends that were just like, let's mess with how the game's played on a friend that anyone can run.
Yep, I think we need more cards like this, like that do something really, really crazy. Like, we need more cards like this. And Absolute Discord, Colorless Friends, yeah, is a good example of cards like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now we're playing Hearthstone. I mean, LPCCG edition.
Kind of, yeah.
Well, it's not even like Hearthstone, because in Hearthstone you can always play stuff during your own turn. But with this, like during face-offs, you can't play cards.
Oh yeah, that's
And
true.
during the score phase, you can't play cards. During the draw phase, you can't play cards. At least with Hearthstone, because it's got 1 mega phase, you can always play cards if it's your turn. But with
Yeah.
this, it's like, yeah, cool, only play cards during 1 phase. Go.
And that inability to activate abilities is pretty important as
Yes.
well.
It really
all-
makes DJ Pwn 3 breakdown real strong. Because it's like, okay, so either my factory jacks avoid that removing it, and I don't get to use them, or they die.
Yep. So, like, I mean, the list of things that this interferes with, goes on and on. It's basically every deck from the last couple of years gets hurt by this to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Control loves playing things during face-off. Bluna loves doing stuff during the score phase. Aggro decks in blue had all their hasty stuff. If you want to include this in your deck, you're going to have to really think.
I think my saddest thing about this card is that it feels like a flavor fail when I look at the artwork, because there's 4 people apparently working, and they can only muster up 3 power. Are you serious? How lazy is one
There
of them?
is a reason this card is free power.
Oh yeah, of course, I know that, but it's just like, how lazy
That reason is Appaloosa.
that guy at the top or something.
I mean, it's nice. Fairly sure he's fairly lazy. But yeah, we don't want this card as 4 power, because of Appaloosa mostly. Because now not only you can't play things, you also have to get rid of a resource to remove it. Yeah, I love this card in my combo decks. Finally, the perfect protection. Like, all other protection cards were like, oh, my opponent can still do things like that, or like this, or my combo relies on friends leaving play. This one doesn't care.
Yeah.
You just play it and you can be safe.
Play it there, say, okay, I'm comboing off. You can go like get a drink or something. You literally.
Yeah, there's a coffee machine nearby, you can go.
I think that's one of my issues with it, is that it literally can. Okay, now you're playing solitaire, and like, there is a second player, guys. Like, it takes 2 people to play this game.
But to be fair, not all combo decks can use it because it hits both players.
It's one of those cards that is a bit risky to have, and presumably someone will be keeping an eye on it and making sure that if things go bad, there will be a fix. But some amount of risk is necessary when you're making new cards. So I think there's some praise to be handed out.
Mm-hmm. Grandpa's, like, when I talked about this card with Grandpa's, he told me a really good point that, like, if some combo decks gets really good because of this card, the problem is not this card. The problem is the combo deck, which I think is fair. But yeah, either way, in my opinion, it's a really cool card, and it's great that we see cards like this that mess up with the game. More.
And there's always, well, outside of combo, there's always the possibility that people just look at it and say, oh, well, I can't really build a deck that works with this, so I don't know. But the thing is that even if nobody's playing it, you still have to be aware that it exists when you come to a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see this like card being actually run outside of combo decks. Like, I have an aggro deck that doesn't have any immediate effects. It doesn't interact with the opponent on their turn, which is one of the weakest part about it. But I can just play this card and make the ground even.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next card.
Yep. Next, I believe, is a card that works very well with ADA.
I mean, yeah, I guess. Move swing. Doesn't restrict you which things you can move. I'm not sure if it's the only card that doesn't have this restriction. But I actually was like thinking, like, a week before this card was revealed, like, we have never really seen any card that doesn't restrict you on which character you can move, like opposing or your. They all say either
the
your
blue
or
purple
opposing.
song says move a character.
Which one?
The blue purple one.
I'll fly?
Yeah, I think that says move a character, which is why I've always considered it to be the one 2-color song that has 4 options. Because traditionally, you don't get to.
Oh yeah, it does. It does say move a friend. But yeah, like, I think it's cool to have cards like this.
I don't think it's good. If anything, I think it's kind of garbo.
Really?
I think it's okay.
Yeah.
It's like all of your friends have Swift, and you have main phase Magicites for one.
Yeah, but it's 4 action tokens to activate this thing once. 4. That is so much. 5 twice? 6 3 times? You're only just kind of getting your cost back at that point.
It is a good point. It is a big initial investment.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of expensive.
Yeah, like it reminds me a lot of Ursa Vanquisher back in the day, of how, like, this is just a thing that I'm going to do over and over again. And like in those kinds of decks, this card would work. Notably, it can't hide in your hand like Ursa Vanquisher. Yeah, going to get removed probably. But yeah, it has to be those kind of decks, I think. Or, as pointed out, maybe using it as a what's that card? Call in the Dream Cavalry. I think that's the one.
Yeah.
Maybe that works too. I don't know.
It could also work like in a blue-purple control farmish deck, because it lets you do both things. It lets you get to your troublemakers easily and get your opponent away from them. And blue-purple is kinda good for this kind of stuff. You have Zeroed Out, you have Shining Armors. Like, there is some troublemaker synergy in these two colors. And Ember, of course, and the card that we're going to see. Okay, next card.
Sure.
Hey, it's a rare. At least I feel like it should be.
Oh, how the game has changed.
Don't know if there's much to say, really.
Yeah, it's the...
I mean,
we really needed this
reprint. It was a
reprint.
common in Equestrian Odysseys, so...
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay, Sphinx. It's Magic Arena, kinda. I really like Magic Arena.
Yeah, this is another iteration on the guess stuff type card. This one might be good enough, honestly.
My friend pointed out to me, like, the thing that I didn't think about is, if you think you can win against this card, you can just name main character or a problem to guarantee the fact that it lets you challenge it. Because it doesn't restrict the type that you can name. You can name any type in the game. And your opponent is never going to have a problem or a main character. Because if they do, there are some other problems here.
If it's a dilemma, does it count as a problem in hand?
No, it's a resource.
It's a resource only. But yeah.
That is an interesting point, yeah.
I think the issue with this card, though, is you may as well just play a troublemaker with an ability you want.
Yeah,
rather than maybe 10 power.
Mm-hmm.
I like the card, but I just don't think what it does is good enough to justify the randomness and everything else that's going on with it.
Yeah, it is a greatly flavorful card. I also very much appreciate how if your opponent has Somnambula, the card is just useless.
Yeah, that's very flavorful. I would totally run this in draft though. If I get it, I run it.
Yeah.
Okay, next card.
Okay.
That's a good one. Art-wise.
Yeah, here we go. I mean, I'm sure you can sing it for us by heart here, Gifrock.
Of course I can. We're off on the road to friendship. Okay. But I can, yeah. I heard it so many times I can totally sing it. And
well, yeah,
I
actually,
got the pleasure to spoil it.
In a tricky way.
In a very tricky way. But someone did
Trixie,
notice. I didn't
perhaps.
expect it. For the contest, for people who don't know, I have like this little blog where I sometimes posts when I feel like it. And on the header I have like the sliding cards of Trixie, like as a background. And I just, before posting a post, I just put this there and see if people see it. And someone did notice, which was great. And if they didn't, I would just post it some other way, so it was fine.
Mm-hmm. this set, have to keep your eyes open for spoilers.
Yeah, this was not the only sneaky spoiler. Either way.
Anyway.
Yeah. Go ahead.
About the card itself. Compared to the other tricolor mana, actually, these are some really good abilities, I think. The move up to 3 opposing characters, it matches up with move up to 3 of your own, but it's probably pretty useful for a purple deck. And obviously 2 AT to get past troublemakers for the turn. Even 2 random discards. I can hit a lot of good stuff in orange.
Yep.
I think one of the things I definitely like about this one over the other is the fact that it has the 2 random discard means even if you don't need the other 2 utility effects, you kind of just have a direct. I can basically always use this on it because, I mean, if your opponent has 1 or no cards in hand or anyway, you're probably winning.
Also, 2 random discards are much better than just 2 discards.
Yes. And I think it'd be too good if they let you look at your opponent's hand and pick 2. So, next card?
Okay.
Yep. Ooh. This one is cool, but I would hate to play against it.
Yes.
This is a meta-dependent card. Oh man, everyone's just drawing lots of cards, throws it in bin. Oh hey, everyone's searching their deck now, pulls it out bin, shoves it in straight away.
Meticulous? No. Any sort of recursion? No.
No meticulous, no tutoring, no recursion, yeah.
Question.
Yeah?
If you use the new Starlight, which would make it so...
You can't play it, no.
You can't play it.
Yeah, because when you play an event, it leaves your discard pile into the queue zone. Can't do that.
I was just making sure, like, in my head I was like, it surely stops it because it leaves this card to be played.
Yeah.
But just check how confused the game would get. Cool. Yeah, it seems pretty, like, it seems just like a really good hosing card.
For just 1 AT.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to... It's going to be in there. Effects that reveal the top card of your deck are, like, okay with it, right?
Yeah, they are okay because the reveal is not looking.
Gotcha.
As long as everyone gets to see, it's fine.
So yeah, as we say, it's basically a pretty amazing tech card against metas with lots of, well, those. Meticulous or recursion or tutoring.
So completely stops many of the combo deck's win conditions, which is Sweetie Belle. Can't get her out of discard pile no more. This is such a strong card against combo.
'Tis true.
Like, you have to remove it. And like in white decks, you have to remove it as well. It also protects against magical misfire and cleaning up.
Yes.
So
it also turns off Granny, so I hate it.
One of the first real answers we've ever had to Granny.
Well, magical misfire was kinda one.
It's temporary though. This lasts forever.
I mean, in that sense, it's kind of a soft counter to orange aggro in general, because that's so often relies on banishing stuff out of your discard.
Smart cookie.
Zap apples, yeah.
Yeah. Next card?
Yep. Flower. This and the other artifact make something really cool happen. Yeah, it's...
Oh yes, you're talking about the journal thing.
Yeah, I'll talk about it when I get to the journal, because that's like my favorite thing of this set, probably. I really like some wacky weird stuff which are not practical, but like things you can do in the game really excite me.
Right. Well, anyway, this is. I didn't get a chance to say it when we were talking about. For that card, the flavor is all about like cycles of birth and rebirth and renewal and yada yada yada. And so, hey, the flower works perfectly with that. And I like that.
So generosity, you give them flower.
And take a thing.
I don't know. Doing a poor trade isn't really
Yeah,
generous.
if you like the fact that you take a thing is just details. We give them a flower.
Must remember, Rarity is a business pony as well.
Indeed.
Knows how to do good trades.
So it is better than fake. It costs as much as fake crystal hearts, but it's better in a way that it costs more to reuse it, so your opponent won't be able to get things back as easily, and it doesn't ready to the next ready phase. But other than that, this is just a temporary resource removal. I mean, yeah, you take the resource, but there's other menu resources you want to take for yourself. Like Desert Road could be the one. Stick can be the one if you don't have one of your own. But then they will get it back for 2 again.
I think my favorite thing about this, when I first read it, the first thing I thought of was, so if I take my opponent's resource and have a Mac in play, I just go to end phase and go, destroy Miss Main's flower.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, this is just mine now. It seems pretty strong if you're like, oh man, that desert road is really annoying. I guess it's mine now, and you have nothing.
Especially since white doesn't have very good resource removal options. Like, Petite Sneeze is the only thing that white has, basically. And this can be a nice alternative.
Better make sure that you use the resource for the turns that you got it. But it's good, yeah.
Okay, next card.
Nice card.
Defend the Hive. Oh, it's this one. Everyone has Agile, as long as they're challenging. Oh, it also moves the character.
Yeah, I think that...
I think this is a big step in the right direction for yellow, as it now has an immediate 1-cost move a character. I can just ignore the Harmony Changeling half and just be like, yeah, please, I want that. I definitely want that. Yellow's been struggling to be able to just like move stuff in certain situations for a while, so just even having this is a step in the right direction that it definitely wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree, honestly, that the Harmony Changeling part is less important, even if most of the time I'm going to be running this in a deck with either Thorax main or Ocellus main, where it's super good. Yeah. But yeah, like, I think of the score phase tricks you can do. There's also Troublemaker phase stuff, clearly, if you want to challenge a Troublemaker and move a thing over there. Immediate speed movement, like you can use it sometimes to deny single face-offs. Kind of interesting. Yeah, it's cool. And it's another card that goes in the sort of Timble combo of sorts, if you want to max out even more points.
Yeah, like, if you build around Timble in a Changeling deck, you'll probably include this card.
Yep. That's where you use Samilo. Well, you can like move him to one problem and like hive him, and then like reliving history to snap him back somewhere. Things get cool. Anyway.
Okay, next card.
Next card.
Spike. It's like Ember, but not.
It's one way of describing it, yeah. Close, except he only gets to do one face-off per ready cycle, as it were.
Yeah, but he also scales up, unlike Ember, which is, I think, a great part about it.
I was going to say, I think if it was just like Ember, the fact it has Diligent would get out of hand pretty quickly. Because if you're inherently winning face-offs, but also Spike is there, it's like, okay, he's got 10 power now, and then you can't lose face-offs unless they get rid of him.
Yep. So, yeah, again, like another dragon card that supports the troublemaker, like, control theme of the dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
notably,
also purple-orange.
Yeah, notably this one is like the first card we've seen that works great was Smoldermane as jumping into the face-off and then also getting the benefit from whichever card you just force the opponent to discard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, yeah, I think this card, if you're playing Smolder Control, this card goes in and is probably one of your stars.
Yeah, and it's only 2 for 2, like, it's not that big of an investment for such a nice effect. The only thing I think you have to consider this card, like, you have a face-off. Do you want to exhaust Spike, or do you want to wait like until next face-off, where you can be sure that you'll win it and get the Diligent trigger?
Mm-hmm.
Like, sometimes it will be hard to make this call, when to actually use him. Unlike Ember, where she's just everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's interesting because it kind of changes a little bit. Like, off the start, yeah, you want to only send him in when he's virtually when you're pretty sure he's going to win. And then eventually, once he turns 6, then you're saying, okay, now I want to send him in where I might not win because he's got good power.
Mm-hmm.
And it only takes one face-off victory before he is actually doing more than Ember in terms of propping up your troublemaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 4 power is a lot on a face-off, and we'll see a card like that later. Okay, next card.
Okay.
Oh, old money.
Yes, this card.
Achoo!
Yes. Bless you.
So yeah, Meticulous 2. I love Meticulous, one of my favorite things in the game as a player. And it's a Petit Sneeze on a unicorn stick. So what you do, you play Starlight, you play Trixie, then you play this, banish a friend, choose a portal in your discard pile, play portal for 1, and portal this, and banish another friend. Huh?
Mm-hmm. Play a magic instructor, banish 2 things for 1 portal.
Oh,
yeah.
The things that blue-white can now, purple-white can now pull off is just insane.
Yeah, this card was the one that came to me and made me say, okay, purple-white control is definitely a thing now. Because my portals now are just, well, not free, but now they're removal. And that's it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like BRB, but not. Weird.
I have one small issue with this card, though. Apparently this horse is called Old Money. Who calls their child Old Money? Just cruelty.
I mean, clearly some rich unicorn family wants to remind everyone how rich they are.
I mean, like, who calls their child Spoiled Rich?
Or her name was Spoiled something else. She took the rich name later, I think.
Okay,
her choice.
do you name spoiled something else?
I mean,
Like, I think this is even worse than spoiled rich.
Anyway.
Yeah, cool
Next
card.
card.
I really, really want to play purple-white control even more. Next card is Yona, which will be our pre-release promo, and I think this promo is beautiful. I love it.
It also seems pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This is the first time that yellow's most extreme form of removal, bouncing stuff to hand, has been put in a repeatable place.
Yep. It's quite restricted, 3 or more power, so you can't remove small stuff, and often small friends are very impactful. But like, I love bouncing Thunder Lanes, are you?
Mm-hmm.
And it's swift, and it's persistent. Oof.
It's just got all these words on it to be like, play it, please. Just do it.
Yeah. Clearly, of course, only only goes in yellow, which so far yellow main's always been aggro. Kind of interesting, but I mean she has a place in aggro too, being swift after all.
Yeah. Can help you win more face-offs, and like bouncing stuff is always good. Like you can bounce an eccentric friend to be able to confront some other problem, because she's not restricted to the problem she's played. Like you have to confront her problem, but you can bounce stuff from everywhere.
Indeed.
This also feels kind of fun with Thorax. Because when you're like going, oh yes, I can easily confront this because my Thorax is massive, being able to just go, and I'll pay 1 and get a bounce. Seems pretty good too.
Mm-hmm. Almost makes me wonder, like in Thorax Farm, obviously you don't want to have too many friends around, but the cards you really care about being around on the other side have more than 3 power, probably. Like Ember and Spike, once each had 1 trigger go on him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Okay, next card.
Nice card.
Cozy Glow. I've seen something like this before. Like, I think it was called Cockatrice.
Yes, that's correct.
But instead of having 2 power, it has 6 power, and instead of having 2 points, it has 1 point. So much better than Cockatrice.
Yeah. And I think my favorite thing about this, that was also one of my favorite things about Cockatrice, is if they use an effect that's like, my one thing will fight your troublemaker, it's just gone now.
Yep.
Bye.
It is a challenge. Yeah, Wildfire or yeah.
Yeah, like, even then, like, if you challenge this regularly, hiring a friend if you don't have, like, a consistent way to get tokens is quite a big investment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
It's the kind of card that your opponent really, really has
Yep.
and plan for how they're going to, if they intend to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like certainly, I mean, I've already seen in the pre-release stream that's amazing and limited, where the opponent oftentimes is just going to say, I really don't want to have to deal with that.
Yeah, and limited is kind of wrecks, because like 6 power is a lot, and you retire friend, which is a valuable resource in limited. But it's a super rare, so I don't think you're going to see it too often in limited, so it's not a big concern.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if this was a rare, then it would be a bigger issue.
The idea that someone could possibly have 2 of it.
Ooh. Okay, next card.
All right. Start us off. Explain your silliness.
So the silly part about this card, like, first, what this card does. You banish a card from your hand, and then once it has enough study counters, you may play that card basically, without paying its cost. So, what happens if your opponent steals this resource, and then plays your card? A lot of fun things happen. First of all, I think this is the first time we've seen the card that enables your opponent to play your cards. Because usually how it goes, you play your cards which you own. But here it's not the case, you may play a card which you do not own. And that opens
You still need the requirement though.
Yes. You only don't pay the cost, but you still need the requirement. But the silly part is that this makes a lot of fun stuff happen. For example, when you play an event, it makes sense to ask a question. Does this event work for you because you played it, or does this event work for your opponent because he actually owns the card? The answer is for you because of rules. But if you play a friend, that friend will actually enter under your opponent's control because they own it. And all the relevant triggers will go for them because they own it. And if that friend has when this card enters play, not when this card enters play, but when you play this card, it won't trigger because you actually didn't play this card. Your opponent did. There's a lot of cool stuff that happens when your opponent gets to play your cards. And I love this. This card is the best card in the set in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Allowing something really weird happen in the game which we haven't seen before.
Yeah. It is perhaps a bit of a shame that it's, in terms of its ability to do competitive stuff, probably less so.
Yeah, I don't think it's very competitive, but allowing something like that to happen makes me excited. It's not useful in any way, but it can happen.
You would be the kind of person to bring this to a tournament just to make the judges.
It does require cooperation from your opponent because they have to steal it. Or I have to steal it from someone, which is unlikely that someone will run it, so probably not, but yeah. And plus, I wouldn't ask the judges anything. I would know how the card works. The one who is going to call the judge is my opponent.
We need a card that gives you advantage for donating your resources. Yeah, it's just slow.
Yeah, free study counters, which you only get. I guess it doesn't matter when you get it at the start of the end of the turn. But, you have to wait 3 turns to play a card and they can remove this, they have time to remove this resource and then you just never see the card anymore. But it costs only 1 and it draws you a card, so maybe it's not like it just replaces a card, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And you're gonna... you're probably going to banish a card that's really expensive to get the best value. Maybe you weren't going to play anyway, so...
Hey, that's for your Similudoplexis Timble deck.
Ah, good point.
Yeah, maybe we'll see some play. 3 turns is slow, but it only costs you 1 and draws you a card, so maybe it's not that bad, but... Really cool card.
Yeah, maybe it remains to be seen how much resource stuff there is and how important resource removal becomes. Because maybe if this is in the same deck with your staffs and your desert roads and yada yada, the opponent might let it be because they're expecting bigger stuff to land later.
Yeah. I think it would be way better if you, when you banish the card, you banish it face down, so your opponent doesn't know which card you banished. But I think it would be way better, because then your opponent, like, maybe you banish something that's irrelevant to, like, make them waste their resource removal. Like, banish a singing barrel when you have two of them. But your opponent knows what's coming, so...
If they see that you're about to land a cadence.
Yep. Okay, next card.
Next card.
Another fun card with fun things.
Speaking of my Timble deck, yeah, this card goes in it for sure. For a resource that we're going to see coming very soon. But yeah, this one obviously is great if you want to copy your own resources. Keep in mind for any of you salivating over staffs and such that copying unique stuff that you already have is potentially a bad idea. But obviously, resources that are attached to friends or stuff that your opponent's got could be good.
Yep. I always wanted to see like a deep in the pool for resources. I was thinking about it a lot. And now we actually got a card that does it, and I love it.
It's the first thing that's ever generated token, right?
Okay, so you can have Madame Lefleur, which is the entry card that turns itself into a friend. And you can deepen the pool it, and then you get a token copy of a resource. That's so specific, so let's not count that.
It's true.
So, this is the first one, kinda.
The first one that explicitly says.
Yeah, the first one that can copy any resource, because that one only works with Madame Lefleur and other entry friends from that cycle.
So what I want to see done with this card is turn 1, the Octavia that flips the top card of your deck, and if it's a resource, you put it into play, and hit Magic Wings, and then turn 2, you play him, and put Magic Wings on him, and then you have 2 9-power friends on turn 2.
It's pretty good. Yep.
Yeah, and the color requirements work out perfectly. Like, you have a white main activate.
You have a white main, play Octi. I've got infinite white now. Play Stygian.
Yeah. Like I feel like Stygian probably is best at home in some white resource, just because that gives you proactive ability in addition to potentially copying your opponent's stuff.
Yeah. I think him copying Wake Up Call is pretty strong.
That's true as well. Yeah.
Because you're like, I have 1 Wake Up Call, and I have like 3 action tokens this turn, and you say, drop Stygian. Now I have a token. So once you've got through my token, there's another one that you have to get through as well.
Yeah. Having a like on a purely logistical note, this card is going to or some way of indicating tokens. Because Dip was not very widely played, but this card might be.
You see, you just get extra copies and put them in different coloured sleeves or something. I don't know.
That works too, yeah.
Or write the word token on them in a marker.
Just so long as it's very obvious if you accidentally shuffle them into your deck.
Yep. Okay, next card.
Go on.
The thing that replaces Amber in my deck. Kinda. So yeah, this is like Ember for troublemakers on the resource. You get 4 power when you defend your troublemakers, and you get 4 power when you fight against them. Sounds nice for farming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very glad it's unique. I don't want my opponent getting +8 or 12.
Yeah, like in the farming deck, you can actually like fight with this card. You can fight troublemakers without any characters really. Like 4 power is a lot.
Well, you do need to have a character there to start the face off, but
Yeah,
yes.
but if it was
You
moved
can't
away
just-
or something,
You can't just throw a shield at it and go, yeah, yeah. I did it. But yeah, it seems very strong.
Indeed.
I feel like the requirement's too low, but that's just me.
It is just troublemaker face-offs, so it is limited in scope that way. Although, yeah, like farming clearly, like this allows lots of mains to that normally, well, blue mains at least, that normally couldn't do farming to get in on it. Like I talked about Gallus Farm when we first saw the card, and I think this makes it a lot more viable.
Mm-hmm. I really like that it's
Clearly it just makes all the mains that already could do.
Yep. I really like that it's works just like Ember, it works the both ways. When you fight against troublemakers and when your opponent fights against them, you just have +4 power. Which basically means that when they fight against your troublemakers, they have 5 more power. And then you fight against them, they have 4 less power. So it's like 8 power difference for them fighting against your troublemaker and you fighting against them.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, this is the kind of card that I saw it, and over the course of the whole spoiler season, I've been thinking, okay, the dragons are purple-orange. Oh, maybe the dragons are purple-blue. When I saw this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, next card. Ah, surprise party. Kinda. It's immediate, I'll give it that.
Yes. That is something in its favor.
I mean, for that scrapbook project deck.
I mean, I could see this card being run like in a Lyra kind of deck. Like, it's basically just 1 cost more Lyra, which drops you 2 less cards. Doesn't sound too great, but like to refill your hand, it might be okay. Like, but then again, like we have things like Pinky's Present, which is draws you 4 cards for 280 and you don't have to discard anything. So I don't know, like discarding your hand is a big cost for only 6 cards.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think the issue with this card is if you have multiples in your hand, literally one of them is completely pointless. Whereas with any other draw card type card, if you have multiples in your hand, you're like, yes, cards,
this is
cool.
It's really great. It's best, obviously, if you're not discarding stuff, which only happens if your hand is empty, or well, yeah. So that kind of necessitates it being in some kind of super fast play everything aggro deck. Maybe some kind of Octavia Pink.
But then, do you want to pay 3 action tokens in Hyper Aggro to sort of stop and then get cards, or would you rather use that to like move?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 3 AT is all. If it was 2, like I think it'll be much better, and not too powerful still.
I think you could easily put it at 2 draw 5.
Hmm.
I think
And
2 draw 6 is still
people
fine.
would experiment with it.
So, Hithrock,
Yeah, that's me.
fairy cards in chat saying this might be a good combo card. I heard a lot. You're the combo master here. What do you think?
Good combo. I don't know. Like, depends on which type of combo we're talking about. Like, to draw your entire deck, maybe. But usually in the combo deck, many of the combo decks, what they usually do is they gain some like AT first. Like, they have some AT engine, and once you have an AT engine, like, you can win however you want. And I'm not sure how would you get an AT engine from skipping class, like maybe something with Luna? I don't know, like, coming up with a combo on the spot is hard.
Well, I think the reason why it could be good in combo decks, just as a blanket statement, is because you go, nothing in my hand benefits my combo. There we go.
It could be good in combo to like just dig through your deck for combo pieces. Like if your combo doesn't care about your combo pieces being in discard pile, like you have Hoity Toity or something to replay them. Which is some of the combo decks out there do that. Wink wink.
Yeah, I think a good number are okay if some of the pieces start off in the discard pile.
Yeah, but then again, you put like by putting your combo pieces in a discard pile, you put yourself in a risk that if you're playing against purple or white, that they'll just banish them and you'll have to dig for them again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like it's a risk-reward thing here.
Next card?
Okay, yeah.
Next card, sure.
Oh.
So here's what you do with Herd of Adoring Fans. You play a Timble. You attach this to him. Then you play a Stygian and copy this and attach it to the token that you did. So now you've got 3 Timbles that are all bound together and all move together.
And then you play Simulator Plexus and score 6 points. I mean, 8 points. Gee, oh my god.
Yeah.
So I heard that
It's yeah. I mean, as was pointed out when this card first came out, this card is basically made for Timble. You can do other things with it. Cost 2 or less is a lot of cool stuff in white and yellow, but that's the most flashy one.
Yeah. Here's a good example is Wildfire. This on Wildfire lets you move all of your characters to any problems you want. Because Wildfire, like this resource with the Wildfire token, like as soon as you move Wildfire, they move each other for eternity, as well as moving one other character while they do that. That's one of the things you can use. There's also like things like Traveler Spike, and like there's quite a bit of cards you can use this on and benefit a lot from that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, during play testing on the wave 1, this card said when this card enters play, not when you play this card. Can you break it in 10 seconds?
This card enters play?
Yeah.
You can't really blink resources very.
Time's up, it's Stygian.
Oh, yeah.
You play Stygian, you copy this, you put it on the Stygian, another Stygian enters play, you copy this, and so on. I think that's funny. Good thing it's not enters play anymore.
It's true that, yes.
But yeah, it's a really cool card. I like it. A lot of copying effects in this set.
Like I said, gotta have your blank cards handy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, from the perspective of someone who does commentary, you and I know that, Hitchcock, this set's going to be it's going to be kind of hard to keep track of what's going on with all this copying and effects turning on and off, and cards like Square having multiple colors on them, and yeah.
Especially if you don't have sound. It's okay. Okay, next card. Pony of Shadows, our last card. Almost last card.
Our big bad epic.
It's Sunset Festival, but on a troublemaker.
And for you, which is pretty important.
Because you can do this magical thing called Run One Friend.
I mean, yeah, but you can also do non-magical thing and be a farming deck that runs Catajack and Thunderlanes.
Like,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, generally speaking, the cards in your deck are cards you want to play, generally speaking. So, like, one of the things that I had pointed out to me was even in just a tribal deck, if this is guaranteed to put another unicorn into play, then that's still pretty good.
Yeah, you're basically playing a friend for one. I guess you give your opponent a point, but...
You can beat it yourself.
Oh, you can beat it yourself, yeah.
And then, yeah, what was it? Someone pointed out, Bugle, I think. You get a Twilight and Rarity with it. And just bring it back right away.
And just challenge it. I think you can challenge it, I'm actually not sure. Or maybe not. Maybe not. I'll have to ask Grandpa's about this, because I'm not sure. Like, after you farmed this one, can you get Rarity exposed? Can you farm the other one?
If you put it at the other problem.
Yeah.
That sounds like it might work, actually.
Yeah, I'm actually not too sure. Like, I would have to go right now and go into comprehensive rules to figure out. Can't.
I mean, it would make sense that it works the same way, essentially, that there's a challenge step at each problem.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think there's a challenge step. Like, you just choose the order you're going to challenge them in. That's from what I remember, at least. Yeah. I guess we shouldn't dive.
Well, anyway, we'll let you dig in for that, I guess.
Yeah.
Personally, there comes a point where you stop wanting to look closer at the rules, because if there's anything I've learned from you and your adventures, is that at some point things stop making sense, and I want to avoid that point if I can.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. It's like you have all these things that make sense, and then you enter into the chaos zone, where everything is upside down. Like the fact that you can't play main phase action in your main phase. That was fun for me to learn. Either way, Pony of Shadows. I think it's a great card. I think it will see play. I think it's an ultra rare that I will have to get 3-offs. Well, maybe not 3-offs, but it's nice to have.
Maybe 2.
Yeah.
But it'll be around.
It's an epic that doesn't have 2 points in it, or 3 points, which is quite... like, it's not common. Do we have an epic that has 1 point?
No.
Yes, Ultimate Rare Discord from Absolute Discord that does some really weird
Ah,
things about people getting cards.
true. That is true.
Yeah. But yeah, even though it's worth only 1 point, I think it's still good for a farming deck that runs friends. Like the
Yeah.
Ambassador of
farming deck
Loyalty
is-
one.
Yeah, it's going to be pulling out not very many friends, so you're virtually guaranteed, to hit something that you really like. And I'm trying to remember, does it? Right, it comes out during the face-off, but after Diligence triggered, right?
Yeah, Diligent, you won't get the Diligent counters from it. Because the card is defeated when you win a face-off. And Thunderline triggers, like Thunderline for instance, triggers also when you win a face-off. So it will be too late for him to trigger. But still, like, free friend is a free friend.
Especially if it costs 4.
Yeah.
Next card?
Yep.
Next card. Last card. Last spoiler, at least.
Like 5 minutes before everything was spoiled. I think it's great. I also think it's great that
Alicorn is actually a thing?
Yeah, I love that this card is the only card with Harmony Alicorn. I think I think this is hilarious. And I also think it's pretty good. Like, many people have been experimenting with Alicorn decks, like many people I know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can ask many people, have you tried building an Alicorn deck? And I think a lot of people will say yes. Because of, like, the New Moon Troublemaker and other things, like...
It's time to pull out your giant yellow...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been wanting to build an Alicorn deck ever like Crystal Games, so I'm happy. But yeah, time to pull out your... We have a lot of big Alicorns now, that's for sure.
Yep. And it's pretty good, like, paying 2 less for big Alicorns is great, and it's not like there's no to a minimum of 1. You can just play stuff for 0 if you like. Cover to cover now costs 0. How about that?
Dayshed. 0. That's a pretty good one.
Okay, I think this card is great. Maybe not like for a high level competitive, but who knows? But like, even like, if you're trying building a Alicorn deck, which a lot of people are trying to, this is basically like you basically just include this every time.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And it's Flash Sentry. Power to the memes.
It actually took me a little while to remember who been not paying much attention to that lately.
Well, many people do. Many people know who Flash Sentry is, and that's why it's fun. Okay, so that's all we have for spoilers.
Yeah, that takes us right up to the time that the OCR hit. Obviously, there were many cards that were talked about after that. They weren't technically spoilers because everything was available by then. But having had 2 days to look over the whole set, we were able to come up with a couple of cards to watch, cards to say, hey, these are pretty good. And we're just going to end off the stream by going through them real quick.
Okay, I have some technical difficulties. It didn't update the slides. So give me 1 moment.
Sure.
Okay, so we're now on the first slide of the top 5 cards.
So, solving is, by the way, allowed to do that.
Mainly because the reasons why I put them there are all the same reason. Except for the reason why Flash Magnus Shield is because it has a secondary use. But they're all meta-dependent cards! Yay!
I mean, is Flash Magnus Shield really meta dependent? Like, you would probably play
If
it in a
blue
trouble.
farming is garbage, it's garbage. If troublemakers, if you need to face
Okay,
troublemakers,
that's
because
fair.
troublemaker control's good, it's good, and things like that. That's
Yeah,
why it's the
okay.
biggest one, though, because it also kind of helps a deck out that could just exist in general. But the other two are definitely sort of just meta dependent. Like, yeah, it could be useful in certain situations, but does that situation exist? Who knows?
Yeah, that's fair. As for my choice, like, it's not because of Trixie, totally not, no. But I really, like, when I first saw Trixie and I saw her quite early, I didn't think she was, like, quite as strong because I was kinda comparing her to Vinyl from Sequestria. Like, remember Vinyl, when you move a friend, you may pay one less for the next friend, and, like, when I saw that spoil, I thought, like, oh, this is such a strong card. And it didn't see like any play whatsoever, so I was skeptical about this one too now. But then we got like the rest of the unicorns revealed, like all this like Starlight, Old Money, all things like that, and the fact that there's a possibility for both like purple-white aggro and purple-white control, and this card fits quite well into both of them, and also the fact that it costs 1. Which is, if you play an event that turn, it basically repays for itself, and it's not a big investment. So, I don't know, I think this will be, like, a card that we'll see, I think. I hope.
Yeah. Now, funnily enough, for my choice, the Cadence over here, I did have a somewhat similar story to yours, where I was a little bit disillusioned after seeing Day Shift and Midnight last set, that everyone hyped up and didn't really see play. And I thought, okay, Tricolor Friends they're big, they're impressive, but they're not actually that great. But Cadence here has like the guaranteed built-in value of the tax on events, where chances are if your opponent's getting rid of her, they're gonna pay more. She's gonna draw you a card regardless. Like this text is all very, very, and especially with Flash now out and all this get stuff out of discard piles that White has, and if any of the Tricolor Friends have a chance of getting.
Yeah, I think we lost Corset again, but...
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Well, I think everyone got the point of where you were going.
Yeah, I think the thing with Cadence is that you don't want to forget to draw a card.
Yeah, I saw that a bit in the pre-release.
Yeah. It's one of the things you might forget. And quite easy to, because like playing cards is just such a fundamental thing that you don't even think about it. And missing a trigger that relies on that is quite easy. Okay.
Number 4. So maybe I'll start this time.
Yeah.
I've been blabbing on about Timble pretty much the whole stream. Like I said, he's kind of, I think, the reason and the whole shape of Changeling Tribal. Great. Yeah. There's going to be yellow and white decks that revolve around using this for their win condition, and I honestly think they're going to be pretty good. So.
Yeah, I agree. Timble is quite good, and it's uncommon as well, so it will be quite easy to get. Like Kratos.
Kratos was a rare, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a rare. And he was not only a rare, he was a rare from Equestrian Odysseus. Which is a set that is, from what I heard, is hard to get.
Notoriously hard to get, yeah.
Okay, as for my choice is Meadowbrook. Maybe she has a kinda boring effect, but it's quite an impactful one. Like swiping away troublemakers and resources for only 3 is quite great. I think we'll see this card in many yellow decks. Because like if you look at purple decks, many purple decks at least like include at least one copy of Rest in Pieces, because it's just good to remove all resources at once. To be fair, Rest in Pieces like removes them at immediate speed, but this one also goes through Troublemakers, and it's not a resource or an event, so the one big mimics there don't work in it, which is I think one of the great parts about it. Like I think yellow decks will include it at least as a one-off, and it's also a free power friend for free in addition to all that. So
Indeed, yeah.
So school shutdown is probably the biggest sweeping effect we've ever had. And I think anything that sweeps literally everything off the board and shuffles it back into the deck needs to be looked at. But because we have keywords like persist, and because of how action tokens work, that you can play this when you have 15 action tokens and not care, I think this has some real potential to get messed around with if you can create situations where it just gets rid of your opponent's stuff and you don't really mind.
But without that,
I also want to know the timing with Granny. Can I keep my Granny face up, banishing a card from my discard before it's shuffled back in, or what?
Yes,
I think I can, because Granny replaces before the second half of doing the discard pile shuffle happens.
Yes, I'm fairly sure that's how it works.
Orange, purple, Granny. I'm gonna play School Shutdown, and Granny's gonna stay there with 8 power and just be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yep. I also like without this shenanigans, which is basically a reset the game card.
Yeah, like that was my first thought of it. It's one of those dumb magic cards. It's not a new game, except everyone keeps their point total. But yeah, the fact that you can do that kind of cool stuff with it's pretty impressive as well.
Okay. Next.
Number 3. I guess you start this one, Ithrak.
Okay, so I talked a bit about reliving history before on this stream, and I think it's a great card for only 1 cost. It also flips high, and the effect is just great. That the fact that you can use it in so many ways, like you can use it as a control tool, you can use it as a aggro tool, and it's you don't need to invest into it too much. It only costs 1, so I think it's a card we'll see around. I hope.
Well, as for me, it was actually only recently that I realized how amazing Silverstream can actually be, especially with the starting problem that we saw, the big one, Royal Breakfast. Because, you can start with that, and if your opponent's playing a Confrontive, you move Silverstream to their problem. And if they play a friend there, move their main there, then boom, center 2 right away. And it makes it so much harder for them to flip their main over. So I think she's pretty good for that.
Yeah. Also draws you cards.
That too.
I do think that people comparing her to Vinyl is a little bit Vinyl is just draws you cards for free, and here you have to confront, which is quite different. But still, card draw is great.
And I just like Queen Chrysalis. The fact you can do all sorts of stuff to it to make it so it banishes multiple cards. But I generally like sort of taking your opponent's resources, not literally the card type, but taking your opponent's things and using them against them. And so if you can, say, use this and then banish something that has an enters play trigger that's also removal, say, oh, what's the old money? If you play this, banish old money, and then banish something else, it's just like... And it just feels like you can do some pretty crazy things with it because of the fact that you still get to do enters play triggers, as far as I can tell, because it's as this card enters play.
Yeah,
and
you
it
can.
enters play as a copy.
Should be, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you don't play her for 5, which you can totally can do.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
Alrighty, number 2.
Who's first this time?
I think me and Cursed should go together because it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we picked the cards for basic. As I said, old money was the card that made me say, purple control is gonna work. And like, if you have a deck that appreciates running Magic Instructor, then you have a reason to include Spectacle and cleaning up. Reincarnated F-Stop, and you're in a good.
Yeah. Like, the fact is, Starlight, that you can, like, use portals and other events quite easily, and if you have Magic Instructor, that's even better. And the thing with Magic Instructor in particular, that these are unicorns that you don't actually care that much about exhausting. Like, you're playing unicorns and you can copy events, and you don't mind that you exhaust them. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, like, I think I really like the fact that these two work together, and like there are other, like there's Trixie, which I talked about already, and there are other quite good unicorns that you want to play, and they all just so synergize with each other so well. And Starlight is a part of it. Is a big part of it, actually.
Yeah, unicorns have been my favorite tribe of this reveal so far. Not that I'm biased.
I'm not going to deny that I'm biased.
I'm just sad the changelings didn't get a bunch of chaotic effects. Like that Thorax said they should do.
Yeah.
Anyway, my choice is Rockhoof's Shovel because I like... oh man. I am blanking on its name. The resource I want to put on Granny.
Highly motivated.
Highly motivated. And this is a highly motivated, you don't stick on a friend, and you don't get your initial 2 counters, but you can always play it before Granny comes out and don't feel like you're just going to get 2 for 1.
Yep.
And the fact that, at worst, really, it's going to be 1 for a power counter. Not terrible, because over time you're obviously just going to get more and more value.
Yeah, it costs you only 1 to play, so it's not a big investment. And if they like use their resource removal on it, it's fine. Okay. Next.
Last one.
Solving, you probably start here.
Sure.
Defend the Hive. So as I said, it's like the first time Yellow's got a proper good, not really conditional in any way, move one of your characters type cards. But it's also, the thing I like about this is both of the Changeling mains we have so far are designed to get bigger than 3 power. So this allows you to move some other friend, and then you can move your big main for 2 action tokens at immediate speed. And you don't even have to be moving a Changeling initially. And then you can still move your main at instant, sort of at immediate speed, which I think is really nice. I don't really have more to say on it other than that.
I will add that this works great in a Timble deck. You just move them with problems. Like, I confronted here for 8 points, now I will move all my chain of Timbles to the other problem, and confront there as well.
I mean, that comes very close to an actual if you have an FAT.
No, I mean, if you have like token copies and stuff, you just move one and the rest just the conga line.
Yep.
Okay, as for me, I really like Guidance Counselor, and I think we'll see quite a bit of her, even though like it's not cover to cover in the sense that it doesn't like have other abilities and costs more. But like having free extra power and being able to like exhaust for 180 at immediate speed is a big difference, I think. And I think we'll see quite a bit of Guidance Counselor, especially in Unicorn decks, because unlike cover to cover, she is a unicorn, which is very important in the Unicorn deck. So that's why I put her there, and totally not because I'm biased towards purple. Nope. I see. Curse it?
Okay, there we go.
Oh, hey.
Thank you.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, anyway. So you're done then, right?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, Plenty of Shadows. We mentioned earlier the card, like farming decks love it because hey, it's another epic, and if you do manage to use it to rustle up a Thunder Lane or whatever, good for you. Control decks love it because it's a 7 for one thing. That's great, and even if it dies, your opponent only gets 1 point, and you get a thing, which if you built your deck right, it's probably going to be a good thing that you get. Yeah, it seems like it just kind of goes in a lot of places, and will do good things for anybody who puts it in.
Cool.
Yep.
So is that all 5 cards?
Yep.
That is all 5 of us, yeah. Boy, this stream stretched on, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of what happens when you have 40 cards to talk about. For those of you who are a fan of long stream, next week will be the proper review once we've all enough time to really examine the set. It'll be our Christmas special.
Yep, it'll be especially festive.
Yeah, we actually ought to do something festive for it. But yeah, besides that, usual spiel that if you missed the card or know anyone who missed the stream, it's going to be on YouTube in a couple of hours probably. But yeah, besides that, I think we're all done. Anything else for you guys to say?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So, yeah. It's been a pleasure. It's been a great spoiler season. I know we're all really happy to see Friends Forever finally here.
Yep, I can't wait for my cards.
Is like you are getting a shipment in. Like you are actually getting a shipment in.
Oh, I got like it's on the package forwarder. I just like the only worry is that it might get rejected by customs, which is the worst case scenario. And best case scenario, I'm getting it at the end of the next week.
Well, great.
Yep. I'm quite excited.
Well, anyway, thank you all for joining us this Sunday morning, or afternoon, or evening, wherever you happen. And till next time, I've been Cursed Chords.
I've been solving problems.
And Hifrock.
And we'll see you in a fortnight.
See ya.
Bye.